Hello, I'm Andy Burke. This is the Scottish Football Podcast, and there's only one story in town after the astonishing events last night at Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers resigned as Celtic manager, sent on his way with an explosive and withering statement from the club's largest shareholder, Dermot Desmond. Legendary Celtic manager Martin O'Neill has answered the club's call and will take charge of first-team matters on an interim basis alongside Sean Maloney. So how did we get here and what happens next? We'll pore over it all with our guests this morning, the former Celtic captain Paul Lambert and our chief sports writer Tom English.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
So a lot to get through this morning, and Paul Lambert, I was delighted that you answered the call to join us so early, but it's not so early for you because you're in Australia at the moment.
I am, which I really enjoy. So I work for one of my old clubs as well, Borussia Dortmund, which is great over here, and being the technical director of Southeast Asia is a great role for me, and putting the Dortmund philosophy into the partnership clubs that we've got connections with, which is great. And I've been over here for about a year now, which has been really, really good.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic gig and a wonderful Borussia Dortmund tracksuit top you've got on this morning. Our listeners won't be able to see it, but it's an absolute belting piece of kit. I'll need to get myself one of those. But Paul, just obviously big news in Glasgow last night. Brendan Rodgers resigns as Celtic manager. Just give us your reaction to that news.
Nothing really surprises me in football, Andy, to be fair. Brendan leaving, I'm pretty sure he's got his own reasons for it, and the club have got their reasons for it, and no doubt the statement that's been put out, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks as if there's a wee bit of animosity there. But Brendan's done overall, he's done a really good job there. But I'd never really buy into boardroom stuff that goes on, because as a footballer you never think about that. You just go out and play, and I think the players have to take a wee bit of responsibility themselves that they're not performing for one reason or another. You don't play for a manager, you play for the club, you play for the fans, you play for your teammates. You never ever play for a manager. That's 100%. You love playing for managers and you love playing for guys that you like, but you never ever play for a manager. Your professional pride takes you through that. But I think the players have got to look at themselves as well on a little bit. You know, you can hide behind all this nonsense that's going on, but as soon as you step over that white line, you perform. And they lads, for one reason or another, have not been performing. For the standard of a Celtic player, Andy, when you have to, every single week of your life, on the field, off the field, you have to perform as a Celtic player. And if you don't, then you're going to get the criticism. But Brendan leaving happens in football. The king's dead, long live the king, as they say. That's exactly what will happen. And when the gaffer comes in tomorrow or whatever, when he comes in, they'll think they can walk in water because of what happened 20 years ago. Different players, different team. The guys that I played with were proper guys that could perform at a high level. Europe, we go to the final, okay, we fell short. But you're dealing with a different animal now, you know. But the gaffer going in, I think will definitely get the Celtic fans going again.
Yeah, we'll talk about Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney coming in shortly, Tom, but the news when it came out last night about Brendan Rodgers, I mean, this situation between him and the Celtic board has been a running sore for a number of months now. And on the one hand, you could say it was coming, but I think it was still a shock when that news came out last night.
Yeah, it was. And certainly the severity of the language used by Dermot Desmond was a big shock. I'm not sure I've ever seen a statement like it, which is just a tantamount to a character assassination. I mean, every paragraph was an evisceration of Brendan Rodgers. I'd be very interested to hear what Brendan Rodgers thinks about this, because it was a full-blooded attack. It wasn't really about football performance. Celtic's performances this season have been very disappointing. It was all about Brendan Rodgers and the way he's conducted himself in Dermot Desmond's eyes. Now, we knew that there's always been, not always, but there has been on occasion, coolness between Brendan Rodgers and Peter Lawwell. That has been well established. But Dermot Desmond has always had Brendan Rodgers back. He was the man who brought him back after the whole Leicester sojourn. He was the one who kind of drew the heat for that, because obviously many Celtic fans didn't want Brendan Rodgers back. But Rodgers, through his very good coaching, wins the trophies. The love in again for Brendan. All the fans fall back in love with Brendan. So there has been rumours, strong rumours, that maybe Desmond has been weakening a little bit on Rodgers. And wow, those rumours have been absolutely true, because that statement was it took me by surprise. I know Paul said nothing takes him by surprise in football, and normally I would totally agree with him, but the language used there, that is not something that I'd expect. And he's basically he's called him out, and I'm really looking forward to hear what Rodgers has to say here, or maybe Rodgers' lawyers.
Tom, can I just say something there? That I get all that, right? Where I find it difficult to get my head around is that should never still kind of pertain into what's happened on the field. The field day lads only performing for one reason or another for the standard of a Celtic player. That all that nonsense off the field never affects you. It's a great excuse to hide behind when you're not performing. But if you flip it and Celtic are winning game after game after game, this would be nothing. So that's why I think on a football side, the lads have probably let themselves down as well. The Brendan situation and Desmond situation, nobody's ever going to be privy to actually what happened there. And they two that only really know what's happened in the talks and why the animosity has been the way it has. So, but I'm talking for a pure football side. There's no way that should interfere on that park. No chance. Absolutely no chance.
No, I totally agree. Totally agree, Paul. But it's almost two separate things here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the performance of the team, which is on Brendan, but Brendan has been kind of fairly regularly passing comment in public about the lack of agility, to use his word, in the transfer market. Constantly throwing little grenades in there about the way the club operates, and it's fairly sluggish to bring players in and targeting players. All of this stuff he's played out in the public domain. Dermot Desmond hates that. Dermot Desmond has become a very, very, very successful businessman, not by doing dealings in public. He's a very private operator, and he sees one of his own trusted lieutenants in the football side of his business world going public like this. And I knew that every time Brendan did this, Dermot Desmond would just not appreciate it, to put it mildly. But it kept coming on, and there's two ways of looking at this, right? And I think a lot of the fans will look at it. Here's Brendan. He's raised his head above the parapet. He's criticised the way the club is being run. That's what fans want him to do. They want him to be honest. They want him to call out things that he doesn't think are right in the club. And he's been removed because of it, or removed in inverted commas. He has resigned. He's been driven to this point. The other way you could look at it is Dermot Desmond. If all of the things are true that Dermot Desmond has said about Brendan Rodgers, I'm surprised that it's got to this point. I'm surprised that he hasn't been, that he wasn't sacked. If all of them are true, now it's a massive if, right? But these are the allegations from the major shareholder in the club, the most powerful man in the club. He's accusing him of the most extraordinary things. So if all those were true months ago, why wasn't Brendan Rodgers removed? That doesn't tally with me.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think the Celtic fans will view this, Paul? Obviously, Brendan Rodgers left under a real cloud, as Tom says, when he departed for Leicester City first time around. There would appear to be a bit of a split, as Tom says. Some Celtic fans think that Brendan has taken a moral stand here against the board by walking after all the disappointments of the transfer business, or lack thereof, in the summer. Others think he's gone and left a big old mess at his back for a second time. I mean, how do you think the Celtic fans will feel about Brendan Rodgers now after his second departure?
You'll get the usual ones that come out and saying it's great that he's away, and you'll get the ones that will say, it's a bit disappointment. That can happen, but what will soften the blow is the gaffer coming back in, who in most people's eyes is probably the most successful manager since Jock Stein, because he got the club to a European final and what he done with the treble in his first year and things like that. So the gaffer's going to Celtic to help them out. As I said, they fans will think he can walk in water. They thought he could walk in water when he was there. The only difference being is he's not got the same group of players. It's the only difference, which, by the way, let me tell you, it's the main part. That's your tools. And he can only work with what he's got with. So he's not... I spoke to him this morning. The gaffer spoke to him this morning. I sent him a text and wished him good luck, and then we had a chat, and I wished him all the best, and hopefully... But if there's any man that can turn it around there and get them winning and get that crowd back on side, it's only him. If you employed somebody else, I'm not sure the Celtic fans would have took to it. I think there'd been more pressure on the board. But I think Dermot and the lad and Michael and Peter have pulled the rabbit out the hat, really, and went to him and asked him would he come in and help. Is there any other better man to do it in this moment? I know how he works. I know how he does things. There's no better man to go and do it. So I think that'll soften the blow with a lot of stuff. There'll be a lot of journalism guys that will be throwing everything into the hat, what happened. But the main thing is they've got a manager there who by the way, you won't be able to tell the way he's going to swing, because he's that unpredictable with it. But he will get them running. He will get them to run and tackle, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think he'll get an incredible reception back at Celtic Park. He's such a legendary figure there. And Paul saying there, Tom, about Martin O'Neill, he is one of Celtic's greatest ever managers. I think this is what's so incredible about this situation with Brendan Rodgers departing. That statement from Dermot Desmond is so withering, so personal. This is one of Celtic's most decorated ever managers, in Brendan Rodgers. To be leaving in those circumstances with that sort of statement, it's hard to get your head round.
It is, yeah, it is. It's such an unseemly, mortifying end in public spat. Well, I say spat. It's a kind of it's a one-way spat, isn't it? so far. I mean, there's going to be some kind of response from Rodgers at some stage. It's embarrassing that it's all played out in public. Shouldn't be this way. Embarrassing that it's been played out in public with such ferocity. Again, it shouldn't be that way. Whatever you think about Brendan Rodgers, whatever you think about the way the team has been playing, and they've been playing poorly, whatever you think about the kind of excuses and this embarrassing Honda Civic thing that he came out with, and some of the other comments he's come out with recently, which I thought, be better than that, Brendan. Just accept that you've been beaten by Dundee and Hearts and the rest of them. He deserved better than this, I think. This is a horrible ending. There was talking to some of the other football writers yesterday, and we were debating about how this is going to end for Brendan, because everyone was convinced this is going to end in the summer, one way or another. But after the Hearts defeat, after the Dundee defeat, the 8-point gap at the top, if another defeat came against Rangers this weekend in the Cup, would the board move against him? And I wasn't minded to think that they would. But as the day went on yesterday, the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what, we could be at end game here. We could be. I didn't think it was going to end the way it did. And I certainly didn't think that Dermot Desmond was going to go full thermonuclear, because it's not really what he does. I mean, this is a tough businessman. There's an awful lot of business people around the world will testify to how hard Dermot Desmond is. But everything is under the radar with him. And this was just there for all to see.
And it seems, Paul, that things have probably moved quite quickly in terms of Martin O'Neill. You've spoken to him. I'm guessing he's got the call and pretty quickly said, yeah, get me in. I'm happy to come back and help the club out.
Yeah, because as I said before, he had a brilliant time there. As I said, that was an era where we were a terrific side. We really were. We were strong in every department. and he took us to a European final. We just fell short against a team that won the Champions League the year after. But we just fell short. But he listen, I was there at Celtic after Vim in the tough years. I think at that time we needed a manager like him to come in. At that particular time, we needed a manager, somebody that would kick backside, somebody who would tell us where we're going wrong. Listen, he never had to coach us. All he had to do was get us going again. Because at 30 years old, I think I knew the game where I had to run. I knew where to position myself on a field because I learned that when I was 15. So we needed a manager to guide us and just run us through things. He tweaked a few things here and there, brought a few players in. They kept the better ones there. And he got us going. But we, Celtic Football Club at that time, 100% needed a manager like him. And that's why I think he's got the close connection. And Dermot getting him in at that time was a masterstroke because we needed somebody like him. Dermot getting him in again, as I said, the only thing that's different, he's not got the same group of players that he had away back in the 2000s, early 2000s.
He's got a very average group of players, Paul.
But you can't compare, Tom. You can't compare that.
No, you can't. But I wouldn't even dream to compare the team he had with you and the team he's now going to inherit, because it's just like different sports, not to mind different teams.
Yeah. Tom, what he will do, he'll see if you don't make a tackle, he'll let you know. If you don't put the hard yards in first and foremost, if you don't work, then you're going to get in for a hard time. And because he's got a standard with it. And the basics of football is you work hard, you run hard, you try and outwit your opponent, then you've got a better chance of winning games. What he won't stand for is this mediocrity stuff and pass about 400 passes and you're not going anywhere. That's not the game. The game is you've got to score goals and win. Especially at Celtic, you have to win games. First and foremost, you have to win games.
I would imagine that Celtic, for however long he's there, and I suspect he might be there for longer than people think, even though he's interim, and you'd imagine they'd be on the phone to Melbourne, to Ange Postecoglou as well, to see what else can be done. But for the time that he's there, I would imagine that Celtic would hope that he's going to do the job that Walter Smith did when he came back in at Rangers, and he settled everything down, and he pointed them in the right direction again in a very expressive way. But you look at O'Neill, like he got last job in management over 5 years ago at Nottingham Forest, didn't last long, ended badly. Did 5 years with the Republic of Ireland, some very, very good years in there. His last year was a total disaster. They couldn't get rid of him fast enough. The football was eye bleeding. He won one of his last 11 games. It all ended badly there. So he's been out of the game for quite a while. He hasn't had many good experiences in the game for quite a while. O'Neill, he will have the aura for every Celtic fan, no question. But these players, will he have the aura with these guys? That's will he be able to get through to them? Because the O'Neill, everything they did in the past, is that going to matter to some of the characters in this Celtic team?
Some of them won't know who he is. Some of them won't know who he is. They'll have to Google him. That's a go-to thing, isn't it? Google him if you don't know him. That's what comes up. But what you've got to say about him is he will definitely get them going. He might need to treat them a little bit different from the way he treated us. Listen, Pep Guardiola couldn't last long at Nottingham Forest, let alone anybody else. So that guy, their chairman, just pulls the trigger on anybody to get them out the door. So that is I think that's a false dawn with the Forest thing. The Republic of Ireland, they got them to the was it the Euros? They got them to one of the major tournaments, which was a great achievement at that time. But if you're asking for a personality to get into a club, and you're asking for somebody who will drag it, let me tell you, he's a manager, and you know he's a manager when he walks in the door. You know the manager when he walks by you in the corridor, and it's always like I reckon if you ask most of us in that era, everybody calls him Gaffer because of the respect we had for him and what he done for us. So I don't think that way yet. He'll definitely have to get another tune out of them in a different way. But the guys are going to have to perform and be ready for getting told if you're not performing.
Sean Maloney's going to be interesting in this equation, Tom. As Paul says, Martin O'Neill wasn't always known as a big boots on training ground coach. He was more the inspirational figure that got the reaction out the players, and he emboldened his assistants to take on a lot of the coaching duties. It sounds like a lot of this is going to fall to Sean Maloney. Obviously a great Celtic pedigree himself from his playing career, some great coaching experience under Roberto Martinez with Belgium. Not such a happy experience as a number one at Hibs, and I think at Wigan also, although he was working in real difficult circumstances there. But how do you see that appointment? Because there's a sense that a lot of people at the top at Celtic see something in Sean Maloney as a coach, and some people suggesting, whether it's soon or whether it's down the line, potentially even a Celtic manager of the future. How do you see him fitting into this whole equation?
Again, it's another layer. It's another layer to this, isn't it? This is just a massive story. The story comes out and it's Dermot Desmond and the kind of the most extraordinary takedown of Rodgers. And then you think, okay, I was writing this last night, right? I finished it just after midnight. And I'm writing, I'm going, hang on a second. By the way, like Martin O'Neill's return after 20 years would be a stratospheric story on its own. And it's a kind of a sideline. And Sean Maloney's kind of return, I know he's been in the club, but he's apparently been doing good work in the Pathways Academy side of things. Apparently he's been shaking that up quite impressively. So that would be another really big story on its own. But it's just kind of a side note. Maloney is I think is an impressive operator. Yes, at Hibs it went wrong as a number one. I don't think he's a manager. I think he's a coach. I think he's a very thoughtful guy. It's an interesting combination for sure. And I just look, every layer of this is fascinating. O'Neill and Maloney is a very, very interesting combination. I suspect, right? When you look at Dermot Desmond, the way he operates, when Brendan Rodgers came in, that was in part an answer to Rangers getting a little bit uppity. They knocked Celtic out of the cup. They goaded the Celtic directors in hospitality afterwards. And Desmond said, right, enough of this. Ronnie Dyla, thanks very much. Brendan, come on down, sort this out, which he did. I wonder now, even as a PR exercise, well, you can see it. He's bring Martin O'Neill, a big beast in, a much beloved character in the club. What he's going to try and do, I suspect, I might be wrong, is try and erase the memory of Brendan Rodgers as fast as he possibly can. Bring Martin O'Neill in for a spell. If he can get Ange Postecoglou back in, great. I suspect he's now going to shovel money at this.
Is that the way you see it playing out, Paul? I mean, Ange Postecoglou is another one. We've spoken about a few of them, is a real hero with the Celtic fans after what he did in his first spell. He is available. Obviously, a bit of an unhappy time at Nottingham Forest after an incredible up and down spell at Tottenham Hotspur. Do you see Celtic going back and saying to Ange, right, come on, let's do it again and come back and repeat what you did first time around?
I don't know. It's a different team. It's a different team that he left a few years ago. It's really difficult to say that he's going to have the same impact. Listen, Rangers are no great shape either. That's apparent. So there's no massive thing there. The only thing you get there is the rivalry when the derby pops up. But at this moment in time, Rangers are a good bit behind. Hearts are the ones that seem to be setting the pace at the minute, but there's only 9 games or so going. And there's a long, long way to go. A new manager come in, whether it's Ange or not. One thing's for sure that I do know is you have to win games. And everybody knows that. You have to win games if you're a Celtic manager or you're a Celtic player. You have to win games. So whoever gets that job, whether it was the gaffer or Ange gets that job, Coco the Clown can come in there, and if you don't win games, the Celtic fans won't put up with it, because that's the demand of it, and people don't realise the pressure there. I've played with big clubs before, and the pressure in Glasgow and the pressure in Celtic, if you can't handle it, and I played with some great players that crumbled under it, if you can't handle it, then you're in big bother there. And I'm talking about off the field and on the field, but on the field is where is where you earn your crust, really. That's where you have to grow. Yeah, the big set to go, yeah, give me the ball, I'll take it, regardless if you're getting beat. But the one thing they'll not put up with is if you don't start to work and you don't start to run. Quite rightly so, because you get 60,000 people coming every week. You have to perform. And by the way, our team played terrible at times as well. And I played crap games of football. And I think you look at it and you think, well, sometimes you tend to forget how crap you were yourself at times. But what I do see is you have to perform. And I know that because I played there for 9 years.
And Tom, as well as Brendan Rodgers going, there's been more departures on the coaching side. Probably most notably, John Kennedy's left the club. Obviously, has been there a long time under a succession of managers. So it seems like whoever does come in to take the job on a permanent basis, there is going to be a different look to the coaching team. First time Ange came in, he came in on his own. He didn't bring any assistants, and he worked with what he had, and he did it brilliantly. But it's going to be a little bit different this time around. There's going to be a new look to the coaching staff.
Well, completely, yeah. Well, there already is. I think they'll bring a few. They'll have to bring a few more in. Again, that's another one. John Kennedy leaving the club after so many years, had opportunities to leave before, was persuaded to stay, and now he's gone. Everything has changed at Celtic, and changed overnight, literally. Changed in the most profound way, most brutal way, and this is a club that's broken. It's broken. The relationship between Rodgers, obviously, and the board was broken. The relationship between the club and the fans is broken. The relationship between the players and Rodgers looked to be broken, the way they were playing. O'Neill is a big character, strong character, but he has his hands full to get this functioning again, because they're a mess. It's a total, on every layer, it's a mess. They've got 77 million in the bank. Financially, they're doing really, really well. Everywhere else, this club is all over the place.
Yeah, and I suppose that element of it, the disconnect between the club and the fans, Paul, I suppose a figure like Martin O'Neill will go a long way to fixing that. But as you said repeatedly over the last half hour or so, that will only hold if the results start to come.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell. The game's about winning, and it always will be. It's about winning. And if you're in that environment where you're at the top end of your profession, that you have to win games and the pressure's on you, and you get signed for Celtic or any big club, you have to win. As I said before, you never play for the manager. I never played for one manager my whole career. I like managers and I love playing for them, but I never played for them as in, that was the one I was wanting to please. You had so many people wanting you to win, and that was always my mindset of, we've got to win games here to be successful. I was at Celtic where we had some really great times. I was at Celtic when we had some bad times with it. But I think, as I said before, whoever comes, the narrative is never, ever in its lifestyle going to change. And the gaffer knows what he's walking into, albeit a different era, different time. But he will definitely, at the start of it, as I said to him this morning, you'll be made a hero until the football starts. and he knows that himself. 100% he knows that. But as I said before, if he's going to go and massively go and coach the lads into position, and when they're meant to be the top of the profession, then then dear oh dear, there's a problem there. He will get them going without a shadow of a doubt. He'll get them going, and he will get that club going the way he thinks it should go. But I'll tell you, at the top of the hierarchy, I'll tell you what, you won't really want to step on his toes, because he's a gaffer, as I always said, and he runs the whole football side of it. So the gaffer will definitely run the whole club, which Celtic need.
I see. I think what he's going to have to contend with here is Celtic fans are obviously going to give him an amazing reception, no doubt, but they're not going to stop attacking the board. So the background noise, and it's loud, is going to be anti-board. He's going to have to deal with that. And it's nothing, as great a Celtic figure as he is, Martin O'Neill telling the fans, lads, can you calm it down? This isn't helping. is going to go in one ear and out the other, because these fans are not having this board. They're not having it, and they will see this move last night, the resignation, as Brendan Rodgers being driven out because he told the truth in inverted commas, right? Dermot Desmond has been very clear that he doesn't think it's the truth, but they will see it that way. They will see that here is a guy who tried to highlight the problems of the club for the betterment of the club, and he's now had to leave. That's one way of looking at it. I'm not saying it's the way I look at it, but that is a way a lot of Celtic fans, I would imagine, will look at it, even though they were beginning to turn on Brendan themselves because of the awful football that they were watching and some of the excuses that he was coming out with. Their beef is with the board, and there's nothing Martin O'Neill, in my opinion, is going to do about that. Even if the football is really good, the cacophony of stick that this board is going to get is only going to intensify now.
But the thing is, Tom, right? The thing is, right? If Dermot, just hypothetical, if Dermot says, okay, I'll leave, Michael leaves, Peter leaves, they all leave, who takes it on? Who's financially got the money to go and take Glasgow Celtic on? I think you've got to be really careful. I really,
a lot of people, Paul.
There would be, right? There would be, right? But they say the exact same thing about Rangers, and they guys have not come in and set the heather on fire, and that's the 49ers. So you've got to be careful what you wish for at certain times. I think nobody can ever point the finger at Dermot and that for what they've done for Celtic. It's impossible. If Fergus McCann never came in when he did, dear oh dear, you don't know what would happen to Celtic. And I always say it, you always say that somebody will come in and take it. They might come in and take it, but then again, it could be even worse. So you just don't know. Sometimes I think you're better with the devil you've got. And Celtic have to look at the bigger picture as well and think to ourselves, well, if we don't make Champions League football for a few years, we make sure we're stable and we're financially stable in our own country to play football. I think you've got to look at that side and think, well, the sensible ones will think of that. The other ones will think, well, no, let's get them out.
But the fans will think the club is going backwards, though, Paul. Going backwards on the pitch, going backwards off the pitch. A lot of Celtic fans I know walk around Celtic Park and I see the place is a bit unkempt. That it needs work that's not been done. The team needs work that's not been done. Dermot, like if anybody is ever in any doubt who's calling the shots at Celtic, last night was proof positive that it's Dermot Desmond, because it's not Michael Nicholson, the chief executive, making this statement. It's not Peter Lawwell, the chairman, making this statement. It's Dermot Desmond making this statement.
But Dermot is the main man. That's the thing. But Dermot will say himself, there's nobody bigger than Celtic itself. But what he's got to do is lead it as well. He's the top of the tree, the owner, and he's got to kind of lead it, which is made the decision, which is fine.
He's not the owner, though. He's not the owner, Paul.
Yeah.
He doesn't own the club.
Yeah. But he's the main kind of guy, the main head kind of guy there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But he doesn't own it.
Make the decision. So I think when you look at that side of it, the club's sustainable financially, yeah, fine. The European thing, definitely disappointing. But Celtic have had it their own way for, I don't know, dear, for the last 10, 15 years. They've had most of the thing their own way. So I think they're just going through a little hard time at the minute. It will settle down once they get results again, which certainly happens. Do they need to improve the team? 100% they do. I think everybody needs to really realise that they need to improve the team without a doubt domestically, because they fell short a little bit. And you've got the European scene, which you don't want to let that horse get ahead of you too much, because it's a difficult environment to work in.
Well, Tom, I think an indication of how quickly this situation has moved came with an interview that Martin O'Neill did yesterday when he was strongly tipping Hearts to have a good old crack at the title. I suspect that interview came before the approach from Celtic, but I mean he's got to hit the ground running here. Falkirk at Celtic Park in the league tomorrow night, which, given the way Celtic have been playing, is not a given. And then you can't help but look ahead to Hampden on Sunday, the League Cup semi-final against Rangers. That is an opportunity to either really galvanise the club with a big win against your biggest rivals, or to have a pretty early setback. It's all coming at Martin O'Neill very quickly, isn't it?
Oh, big time. Big time. I'd be interested to hear what his first thoughts are when if he's asked, do you still believe, Martin, that Hearts are going to win the league? and secondly, as he said in that interview yesterday as well, do you still believe that Rangers are nowhere near it? They're miles off it going into the weekend's cup match. I would imagine he'll be backpedaling a little bit there diplomatically because he's in a different world now. And it just shows you, like Scottish football, yeah, you could talk about the quality all day long, but the storylines are the greatest in the global game. This is if you said yesterday that all this would be happening, people would have looked at you if you've got three heads. Martin O'Neill, new Celtic manager, Dermot Desmond, statement eviscerating this lauded figure at the club for many years or 2 eras. No, but there you go. Anything is possible in this game.
Yeah, it certainly is. And if we know anything about Martin O'Neill, Paul, it's that he'll not be getting too worried about journalists or press conferences. He never had much problem putting the media in their place back in the day, did he?
I reckon he'll have all you guys running scared again, eh? As soon as he looks over their glasses at you, run.
Diving for cover.
What's the current equivalent of Baird's Bar? I presume it doesn't exist anymore, is it? Where are we all heading for our press conferences these days?
Listen, I think you'll be... don't worry, I think you'll be able to handle all you guys. I know that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. Paul, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for jumping on from Australia. Where are you off to next on your Dortmund journey?
I'm off to Japan, which will be really cool. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. We'll enjoy it. Great to talk to you and to you as well, Tom. Loads of reaction to the extraordinary events at Celtic Park at the BBC Sports Scotland website, so go and check that out. Remember, we are here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. But for now, from Paul, from Tom and from me, thanks for listening.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.